This is my new mug, so let me show it to you because it's not going to stay long. So on this side, it has the sorting hat, and on this side, it has your house. So I'm a Hufflepuff. Now the reason I say this isn't going to stay long is because it's heat activated, and we all know that I'm going to talk long enough for my tea to cool. So you guys will get to slowly see this disappear. Hi friends, welcome to episode 58 of the Quirky Monday Craftcast. My name is Kalisha and you can find me anywhere online as Nadira Tani. I am coming to you as usual from my home in Central Florida, and today is Monday, October 15th. So thank you so much for coming to spend a little more time with me today. I really do appreciate it. If you're a new viewer, welcome. I hope you really enjoy what you see, and yeah, please subscribe so that you can spend some more time with me in the future. Yay! So I skipped filming and uploading last week because I had written out my show notes and everything, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and film on Monday. Then I got called into work, and then I had to work. I think I worked Tuesday and Wednesday? I don't know. One thing about working in a portrait studio is that you never have a consistent schedule at all. So I was being called in randomly and working like a half day here, a half day there, a whole day here, what have you. So it basically got to the end of the week and I hadn't filmed, and I didn't want to like stress myself out with like filming and then going right behind that and editing, because I tried doing that like a couple times and I realized I really don't like it. So I just decided to not worry about it and move everything from last week to this week. And I was like, oh, I'll just have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. But funny thing about that is I don't think I have a whole lot of things to talk about. So there's that. But we will go ahead and jump right into the finished objects. The first finished object is right here on my head. This is one of my Orion beanies. It is a pattern, super easy pattern that I wrote up years ago, like when I first moved to Florida. So this pattern is like 4 or 5 years old, something like that. But it's just a like V-stitch mesh beanie because I wanted a crocheted hat that would not cause me to have a heat stroke in Florida. So I made this out of the leftovers of the ZZ Twist yarn. Who is that by? Lion Brand. I made this out of the leftovers of the Lion Brand ZZ Twist yarn from my Harvest Moon sweater. And I will say I like it a lot better in smaller doses. So making a whole like sweater out of that yarn kind of was a little bit frustrating with like the ropey texture and the fact that the yarn would like untwist itself and stuff like that. But I found like in a small project like a hat, it was much like, it was, I guess I wasn't working with it long enough to really like wallow in those frustrations that I had the first go around with this yarn. This is the pumpkin colorway. Yeah, I do like, because of the ropey texture, it does have a way of like draping really well. Of course, you can't tell what the drape looks like because it's full of my hair and I'm not going to take this off because we do not want to unleash the beast. So yeah, that's the hat. So yes, this is my first finished object and I have been wearing it a ton. I actually wore it out, not this past Saturday, which was like 2 days ago or something like that, but the week before that. I wore it out, this and my Harvest Moon sweater, and I felt super matchy and also super fall, even though it was like a bazillion Florida degrees, but you know, this is the life I live. So I'll put in a picture of that so that you can see the Harvest Moon sweater on and my matchy hat stuff. So that's everything that I wanted to say about this hat. Let's move right along to my next finished object. We'll do all of the yarny things and then like some non-yarny finished objects. So the next thing I have is the crochet baby blanket. It's not a crochet baby blanket. This is the machine knit crochet. This is the machine knit baby blanket with crocheted edging. I don't know why that was so hard for me. So here it is. And, ooh, don't drop it in the tea. Ta-da, da-da-da-da-da. And this is a close-up of, I'm sitting so far away. I'm about to tip myself out of my rocking chair trying to show you this edging. So, there we go. So what I did was I crocheted all the way around the body in single crochets, and then I did a row of double crochets. Then I did a row of back post double crochets, another row of regular double crochets, and then a row of back post single crochets. And I was kind of just like fiddling around. I didn't want the edge to be like too frilly because the friends that this is going to, they're having a little boy. So didn't want to be too frilly. So you see there's what happens when you do the edge, the row of back post double crochets, and then like that. So it's got a little ridge for some texture. And then I really like how like when I did the row of back post single crochets, it almost created like a fake I-cord looking type dealio. And I really like that. So I'm gonna have to like make a mental note of that. Not a mental note, I'm gonna make a real note about that, write it down somewhere so I don't forget, because that would be a really cool like edging to put like on a shawl project design or something like that. But here it is, it's all done. I will tell you, I blocked the bejesus out of this blanket because when I first finished it, I guess I'll unfold it so that you can see. Okay, so this is the short edge, right? When I first finished it, it was legit that wide. And I was like, that's not gonna work. So first I did like the proper steaming, like when you take your iron and you're like this, about that far above your fabric, because this is acrylic. You don't want to touch your iron to it because you'll melt it. It is kind of like plastic. But I hovered my iron about that high above the fabric and like puffed the steam and then like stretched it out, like puffed more steam and stretched it out. And it didn't give me as much stretch as I wanted. So then I was just like, we're gonna have to go in. We are gonna have to go hard. So I put a towel over top of it and just ironed quickly across the towel, took the towel up, stretched the fabric, did it again, stretched the fabric until I got it to like a sensible baby blanket width. I didn't measure this. I don't know what the measurements are. If I feel like it, I'll measure it and put it on the screen, but there it goes. I love it. I'm very proud of it. This is my second machine knit project. I knit the body using my Incredible Sweater machine. Is that what it's called? I don't know where I put the box. we're going to call it the Incredible Sweater Machine because I think that's what it's called. If it's not, I'll correct myself. Whatever. Thrifted it for $7, $6, $7, something like that. And it has been doing me well. What else can I say about this? Oh, yes. So I got these patches, or kind of like labels. Let me take it out of the plastic. I got these labels to put on the blanket, and I'm going to attach them probably on the back or maybe like the front corner. Not sure yet. And it is a little leather label that says made with love and then a rainbow. Yeah. And this is going to be for my friends, so I have to send them a message and let them know it's done and get their address and mail it out to them. I'm so excited to eventually see their little baby snuggled up with this blanket. And I'm pretty sure that at that time, my heart may just burst into glitter. Who knows? But yes, that is my last yarny finished object for this week. We'll put this over to the side. And the next finished objects that I have are some Bible journaling entries. I used to be like, well, a couple years ago, I was really into scrapbooking and paper crafting and everything like that. And then I discovered Bible journaling and like Illustrated Faith and like all those products. And of course, like when you get into something like that, you're just like, I want to buy all the things. But I don't have buy all the things money. So I was just kind of like using my scrapbooking supplies and using what I had, like markers and pens and markers and pens and pencils that I already owned, just to do like Bible journaling. Also paints. I have painted in my Bible. But these past 2 weekends at church, I have been feeling the urge to like Bible journal again, which is really cool. So I wanted to show you the 2 that I did most recently. And I don't know if I put a bookmark in here because that would have been too much, like, right? Oh, they're basically back to back. Okay, so this one was from October 6th, and the scripture that I was using was Colossians 3 verse 2, and it says, set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth, which was part of the scripture reading for the church service. And when I read that, set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth, it kind of like reminded me of this thing that I used to tell myself a lot, which was keep looking up. I have a habit of looking down when I walk, like just looking at the ground, or it's very rare that I am walking and looking like eye level or above. I'm always looking down at my feet. And I've noticed that it does get worse if I'm feeling down. Then I kind of like don't want to meet anybody's eye. I don't want to bring any attention to myself. So I kind of just perpetually look down. But I used to remind myself, like, you have to keep looking up, because you are physically lifting yourself when you do that. And there's so many beautiful things, so many beautiful things when you're looking up. You see the trees and the sky and the birds and potential rainbows and just all kinds of things that you see when you're not staring down, So I journaled just the phrase, keep looking up. And that's what it looks like. So the keep looking, and then it's an arrow with all of the words up in it. So that's what I did on that Sabbath. And then this past Sabbath, I was feeling, like I woke up feeling very anxious for like a few different things. And I kept thinking like, I really need some peace right now. So this journal entry, most of it is just a prayer. And the scripture that I was like thinking about when I was doing this little one was, now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times in every way. The Lord be with you all. And that is 2 Thessalonians 3 verse 16. And then I wrote next to that, be ever my peace giver. And just did some lettering for Jehovah Shalom, which means God is our peace. And then down here is just the prayer that I wrote. And it says, Dear God, thank you for being my peace giver and calming me when I absolutely need it. Please continue to give me comfort, contentment, and peace regardless of whatever I'm experiencing or dealing with. And that was my entry for this past Sabbath. So I'm glad that I am feeling moved to do more journaling and like more entries in my Bible journal. And sometimes I feel like people look at me crazy when they see me just like drawing in my Bible, because and it may not even be this. It may just be something that's like in my head that I feel like other people are thinking when they're looking at me, but I'm not psychic, so I don't know. But I feel like people are going, oh, you see she's drawing in her Bible? And I'm like, I'm only drawing in it. Sometimes I paint and cover the entire page. Like, I don't know if I ever shared this on here, but here are 2 entries that I did that essentially you can't read anything else on the page. Well, you can read on this side, but you definitely can't read anything on this side. And I'm completely okay with that, because most of the time when I'm in church and they say turn in your Bibles to book whatever and verse whatever, I'm looking it up on my phone anyway. So yeah, this one right here is one of my favorite entries that I did in here, because this is one of the verses that I came across when I was in college. And the verse is Psalms 93 verses 3 and 4. And it says, the floods have lifted up, O Lord, the floods have lifted up their voice, mightier than the thunders of many waters, mightier than the waves of the sea. The Lord on high is mighty. The reason that this is one of my favorite entries, and the significance of it being a verse that I learned in college, is that is my verse for like when I'm feeling really down or just like overcome like depression wise, because, and I feel like I've said this on here before, but I relate my emotions, and I definitely did say this recently, I relate my emotions and my dealings with depression and anxiety to water, to like tides that, they ebb and flow. Sometimes you're overwhelmed with these feelings, and sometimes they're not so bad because the tide is further out. But this verse, I find comfort in it, knowing that my God is mightier than the thunders of the many waters. Like, my God is mightier than the waves of the sea that like overflows within me sometimes. So yeah, I really like going through and looking back on the different entries that I've put into my Bible journal. And my grand plan with this is to just keep filling it up with entries and artwork and anything like that until it is like full to bursting, and this be almost like an heirloom piece, like I want of course to continue putting in entries here, but I also would love it if my husband did some, and then maybe in the future when we have kids, they can add into here, so then it becomes like a real family Bible. So yeah, that is the last of my finished objects. So let's go on to the works in progress. which there are a couple, and they're all like pretty great. So the first one I want to show you are my favorite color socks. They are living in one of my old Quirky Monday Crafts bags. This is the small, this is the small size that I have in my shop. It is old because this is one of the fall bags from last year that did not sell. And I was low-key very excited about that because this was my favorite bag that I put in the shop last year. But anyway, there are still bags in the shop if you are so inclined and would like a fall bag. I know some people are waiting on other ones, which we'll get in there soon. But yes, so these are my favorite color socks. They are finally a hoe. So I have a half object. This is the first sock. And this is how far I have gotten on the second sock. So let's see. I think this little progress keeper is where this was the last time you saw it. I think. And then I, finished off the sock. Now, not this past weekend, but the weekend before that, me and a bunch of friends went to a comedy show. And of course, I had to take my knitting because what else am I going to do sitting there for however long listening to people tell jokes and stuff? Like, I don't have to look at you to hear your jokes. So I took this with me. And I was so proud of myself for knitting from this marker all the way to this one in the dark. Well, it wasn't like pitch black dark, but it was dark enough that like at one point I like dropped a stitch or something and I had to get my cell phone out to like light the way to fix it. But like I was doing decreases in the dark. Like new knitting level achieved. Decreases in the dark. But yeah, so I did all of this in the dark and then finished the rest of it like when we got out of the show, and we're just trying to figure out what we were going to do after that. So that is done, and then I have been working on the second sock, and was it last night? No, it was not last night. Night before last? A night that has recently passed. I was reading Harry Potter. Like, this is one of my reading socks. But I'm in the third book of Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban. And I was just past the heel. So I want to say I was like about here. And I knit all of this while reading. And then I had to put it down because it was getting too intense. I was like, oh my gosh, are they going to make it out alive? Oh! Yeah. So I've really been enjoying rereading Harry Potter. So, yes, if you are a new viewer, these socks are made from this yarn, which is Lorna's Lace. You can't see that at all. There you go. Lorna's Laces in the Envy colorway. This is their shepherd sock base. It's 80% superwash wool, 20% nylon. Yes. And the heels, toes, and cuffs are Knit Picks. This light, I tell you. Knit Picks stroll fingering in the pumpkin colorway. I think it's pumpkin. It is pumpkin. So we'll put, oh, is that a coupon? Oh, it expired. We'll put this back in the bag. These will definitely be done by next episode, and I'll be able to cast on something new. Huzzah, huzzah. The next pair of socks that I want to show you are another vanilla sock that I have been using for reading socks, like reading and like watching TV, like mindless socks. And they are, sit over there, you other yarn. They are from, I thought I was frogging the socks, guys. This yarn, this is Superba Bamboo Superwash, 50% virgin wool, 25% polyamide, 25% viscose. And that's what that looks like. So kind of springy colors, which are pretty cool. And this is how far I got on this sock. I made the leg super long. At least I feel like this leg is super long, but it's not really longer than the socks that I normally make. It's just that recently I've been making a lot of socks out of like one 50-gram ball of yarn and then some contrast. So I haven't been able to make super long legs. But I think this, what is this? 2, 4, 6. Yeah, this is an 80 row leg. And then 20 rows of 2x2 ribbing. And I decided to do something different. Look at me. And I did what did I do? German short row garter stitch heel. So yeah, I was feeling fancy, y'all. So I did German short rows. And it's pretty cool. I've only done German short rows one other time, and that's when I was testing the Shine Bright socks by Zakiya of Lady Wing Crafts or Lady Wing Designs. That is a pattern that she has out for sale. It is beautiful. You should definitely go check it out. But yeah, that was the first and only time that I have done German short row heels. So I decided to try it again, and I do like how it works out. And then I'm kind of excited to see like how this garter stitch heel feels. It is definitely more squishy than a regular stockinette one. And I am just gonna be zooming down the foot now. And I have a bunch of stitch markers on here because I had to keep count. This one is a clover one that I made. This one is a puppy paw print from Claudia of the Crochet Luna podcast. This heart up here is also from Claudia. And this is Mr. Grinch because he is always in my heart. Guys, I bought a How the Grinch Stole Christmas t-shirt from the Goodwill the other day, and I almost wore it today. And I was like, Kalisha, it's October. You gotta let like Halloween and Thanksgiving get a little bit of shine before you bust out all of your Grinchy goodness. I just love the Grinch, y'all. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. And that's it for these socks. They're just vanilla whatevs. The last work in progress that is not a test that I want to show you is this baby. Am I going to pull out stitches? No. So I have a pattern. It's a free pattern on Ravelry called the Just Feel Better Shawl. And I showed it last week. I showed it on the last episode. But it's basically a asymmetrical triangular granny stitch shawl with just the whole idea of that shawl is that it's a meditative stitch. So if you're feeling like crummy or something like that, you pick this up, you get some of your favorite color yarn, and you just stitch something that brings you joy, or that you are going to wrap yourself in and have like a snuggle hug from this thing. So I have that pattern in my like on Ravelry, and I wanted to make another version of that shawl. But of course I didn't want to make like the exact same thing because I already have one. So I decided to come up with a Just Feel Better Shawl version 2. This is going to be the shape of it. It's, of course, it's not going to have these lines. This was just like for me to figure out like length and get my ideas on the paper, but that's going to be the shape. And I started working it up in this Lion Brand Shawl in a Cake. This is the Unique Unicorn color. And I feel, every single time I pull this out, I'm just like, it's unicorn and poop. So that's the color. I am going to be cutting out this like gray brown color because I just think it's completely out of place. But this is what it looks like so far. Come on, hands. This is what it looks like so far. So it has, like, this is going to be the straight edge, and it does need blocking because it's not actually going to curve like this. But this is the straight edge, and all of the increases are on this one edge, like this. It's going to look like that. Ta-da! Probably wasn't a good idea to use my teeth, but I don't have enough hands. So yeah, I'm just working through this ball. I do have a second ball. I don't know if I'm going to break into that one, but we'll see how much I get out of this first ball. And it is all double crochet US terms. And that's literally it. So I wanted it to be like another super plain potato chippy. You don't even have to do any measuring for real, like project. I think what I want to do, because I want it to be as simple as possible. Like, I don't want to say like crochet X number of rows. I think what I want to do is based on your amounts of yarn. Like when you get the little triangle bit to the width that you want it to be, like the width that you want your whole shawl to be, to once you stop there, weigh this bit so that you crochet back and forth until you have that same amount of yarn remaining in your ball. And then you know, okay, now it's time for me to start decreasing so that you won't run out of yarn. So that's the part that I'm going to be like testing out to see if it works, because that's what I was thinking in my head. If that works, we're good to go. I'll get this written up, and it'll be another free pattern on Ravelry. So I am all about like big shawls that you can just snuggle up in, that have like colors that make you smile. Like this gradient right here is just making me so happy on the inside. But there's that. Now for the very last, what was this in? Now for the very last work in progress for this week, it is, dun, dun, dun. Whoa! I almost knocked everything over. Ah! I'm just that excited about this, guys. Okay, this is my Bellatrix shawl, and it is a test that I'm doing for Hannah of the Cozy Cottage Crochet. And let me tell you, I didn't realize how big this thing was going to be. Now, if you watched last week's episode, you will know that I was like, I think 2 wedges in, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to make this. It's going to be just like my Kwanzaa candles. So I'm going to have 3 wedges of red, 1 wedge of black, and 3 wedges of green. It's going to be great. Thumbs up. Only to realize that if the designer said, you can do 11 wedges or more, 7 wedges isn't going to work. I was literally like crocheting on it, and I said, like, it was like a light bulb went off and was like, Kalisha, if 11 wedges makes a semicircle, 7 wedges isn't gonna do what you need it to do. And I mean, I'm sure there's a way that I could have, like, because she gives you like instructions on if you want to make the wedges bigger. But I'm not trying to do math. And I was already like 2.5 wedges into this project. So I was, like racking my brain trying to figure out how I'm going to fix this doofus moment. And I came up with a solution. So originally, these were going to be my colors, the red, black, and green. I have since added in this brown. So instead of the colors going like back to back like this, there's going to be wedges of brown in, ooh, what? It's going to be red, then brown, black, then brown, green. Why do I do everything the hard way, guys? Why? And this is, well, these are all Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn. This one is like I forget. It's a black baby yarn that I got from Joann's. It's worsted weight, so they're all the same weights. And I'm so glad that I remembered that I had this like pound of this yarn in my stash, because I almost bought another ball of I love this yarn in black. And I was like, Kalisha, black is black. Like, black yarn is black yarn. You just don't want it to be like super hard. You still want a soft yarn, but this works. So let me show you what I have so far. I am halfway done now. So, woo, I love this so much, guys. Oh my word. Okay, I'm using the teeth again. Oh, ta-da! So this is, put the bag on the floor. This is half of the Bellatrix. This is so flattering. This is professional, guys. This is why you come here, right? So here's half of my Bellatrix shawl. So you've got the 3 wedges for the 3 red candles, a section of brown for separation, the 1 black candle, and then on this side there'll be another section of brown, which will be 2 more wedges of the brown, and then the 3 wedges of green. And then it'll be done. So what I did here, because I really wanted them to be separate, because, you know, this is modeled after my my Kwanzaa candles. And so I did surface crochet, which is just like a line of kind of slip stitches along the separation of the wedges. And I'm going to do the same thing on the green side. I don't know if I'm going to put like lines here and here. What do you think? Should I just put a line of black between all of the wedges, or just between the candle wedges? Leave your vote down below. But last week I did like this whole like kind of a short explanation of what Kwanzaa was. And I do want to show you my candles. So let me grab them. This is my Kwanzaa Kinara and my candles. And like I said, last episode, each one of the candles corresponds to a principle, a Kwanzaa principle. And you can see like my black candle just melted all over the place. I need to clean that up. But each night of Kwanzaa, you light one of the candles and like discuss the principle. What I did was when I was writing my like New Year's intentions and resolutions and things, I was thinking about the different principles and trying to incorporate those into like the things that I do in my daily life. I haven't been as on top of it as I should have been or as I wanted to be, but it's like some is better than nothing, right? So yeah, those are my candles. And there's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to hold all this up together, but I'm super excited about it. So you can see where it's going, right? Right? We've got the 3, we've got the 1, now we're going to do the next 3. So excited. There isn't really anything else that I want to say about this. I cannot express to you how cleanly written this pattern is. Like, I don't even have to, like, when you're starting a new wedge, You don't even really have to go back to the pattern. Like, once you've done like 2 of these wedges, you're good. Like, you're good to go. So the only thing that I want to figure out, or that I really want to think about, is what kind of edge treatment I'm going to do. Like, am I going to, I guess I could put like a row of single crochet along this edge and then along the green edge on the other side. Not sure. But look how big this thing is. Like, oh, how about I show you on the arm that you can see? Look at that. Look, that's my arm. It's gonna be huge. And it's not even like washed and blocked yet. Like, I can still stretch it. So it's gonna be bigger. And I'm gonna definitely put it through the wash so that the acrylic yarn sets, like, so that the acrylic yarn relaxes. And yeah. I actually sat and did 2 wedges last night. It doesn't, as long as I keep my elbow like supported on something, the single crochet isn't hurting. So that's good. So yeah, Bellatrix by Hannah of the Cozy Cottage Crochet. She said she wants to have it out by Halloween. So if you like what you're seeing, keep your eyes open for her Halloween release. And we'll shove all of this back in here, which sometimes I'm amazed at how much stuff I can get in my project bags. This is another bag that I made myself. It's not, the dimensions are not one that I sell. I think I made this one because I wanted something to take to church with me. And yeah, so that's a whole lot of yarn in that little bitty thing. Okay, woo. I'm gonna have a field day editing this. So we're gonna go on into maker plans. And since I was just talking about Hannah, she and her husband recently took a trip to the UK and she vlogged it. So of course I watched the vlogs because I'm like, when am I ever gonna get to go to the UK? I might as well go to the UK vicariously through my friend. So that's what I did. And one of the places that they visited was Ireland. And she was telling, you know, she was like sharing some of the information that she learned about fisherman sweaters and the different cable patterns and things like that. And she was saying that in Ireland, they had like each one of the families, like the big family names, had their own type of cable just in case one of the fishermen went overboard or something like that. Whenever they found that person, they will be able to identify them based on their cable, like their cable sweater. And I was like, oh man, that's really interesting. And of course it made me even more excited because my last name is Ryan. My married last name is Ryan, and that is an Irish last name. So I was like, dude, I bet you there is a Ryan family cable. There totally is. I found it. And I have grand plans of like recreating that into a sweater. And it's, I'll put up a picture. So in the picture, you saw it has, what are the cable motifs? There's the zigzag, there's like a regular cable, which I was trying to figure out like what kind of cable it is. Like, is it a like 2/2? It kind of looks like it might be like a 2-stitch cross cable, whatever. But it has a zigzag, it has the cable, and then it has a tree of life, the cable, and then like a textured panel in the middle of blackberry stitch, I think it said, but which is also known as the Trinity stitch. And so the website that I went to, I'll link it down below. So if you have an Irish last name, you could check out this website. They sell handmade sweaters like out of the family cable patterns. They also sell like scarves with the patterns. They sell the actual pattern. So if you want to just straight up make it from the pattern, you can buy the patterns there. So I will link that website down below. It was like super cool to find, like to discover. But the meanings of the patterns, the zigzag represents the ups and downs of marriage. The cable is for good luck. The tree of life represents the family. Yes, I think the tree of life represents family. And then the Trinity stitch in the middle, or the blackberry stitch, represents the Holy Trinity. And when I saw that, I was like, I'm totally doing this. And I've never made like a pieced sweater. So what I think I'm going to do is figure out some way to translate those patterns and motifs into like a top-down raglan. I don't know if that's going to be like too much on a top-down raglan. I don't know if like it's going to be hard to do. Who knows? Who knows? All I know is that I'm going to try to do it. So who's going to tell me no? So yeah. So that is on Maker Plans. I have like, I did like a doodle. Where is it? Yeah. So this is the doodle of the sweater. You know, like looking at that, I might do better to like create some sort of boxy sweater, and so that I have just like a square like area to work in, instead of like having to work around the raglan increases. But this is totally gonna happen. This is gonna happen. I'm so excited about it. But after I discovered that, I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, you know, it is so cool that things like that exist, right? But there's like kind of two sides of it to me. Like one side, it's like, yeah, you know, your married name is Ryan, so you can like embrace all of these things that are based on the last name Ryan. But is that, like, that's not really your story, you know? So it just really made me even more want to do like one of those genealogical, one of those DNA test type things, to see like where, like what is encompassed in my story, you know? And I feel like I've also mentioned this on here before, but like knowing where you come from, like knowing where your history is so powerful. And speaking as like an African American who most definitely has slavery in her ancestry, it's even more like there's even more of a sense of, where do I come from? Like where would home be if I returned, you know? And it's an interesting kind of like place to be in as an African American, because like if I was something like if I knew my people were from like Nigeria, right? I could trace back there. But like for me, one, we don't know where the slaves that the Tompkins family, where their slaves were from. You don't know. So they could be from a various number of different places. And there's so much like mix up in my blood, right? So that it's just like, where is my culture, you know? So I definitely want to do one of those DNA tests to see what it would say, like what makes up a Kalisha, you know? I think that would be super cool. But in the meantime, I'm still going to like embrace things like, you know, the Ryan crest, or not crest, the Ryan cable or the Ryan fisherman sweater pattern. I'm going to embrace things that are like Pan-African. You know, I'm going to embrace things that are like inclusive like that, because that is part of my story as an American. So that's the only thing on maker plans. So I'm excited to get started with that sweater. We'll see how that goes. As you all know, I have a very, very, we're not going to say bad, strong habit of like getting an idea and just accelerating. So I might have to boil it down first to something like a tote bag, pillowcase, something like that, just to like practice it before I'm going to make a whole sweater, you know. But that's just me. Eventually, there will be a whole sweater with that Ryan family cable on it for me. Next, we have stash positions. And stash positions today consist of a whole lot of books. So, I was recently in Hobby Lobby. I forget what I was looking for, but I came across this book. This is The Knitter's Know-How. Well, it's called Knitter's Know-How, 127 Techniques Every Knitter Needs to Know by Cap Sees. And it was on clearance. Originally, the regular price was $28.99, and I got it for $4.34. So, sale. So yeah, this is the book. The reason that I really picked it up was because it has a whole section on seaming. And like I said before, I've never done any like seamed sweaters or anything like that. So having this whole section that shows you how to seam, different seams, when to use different seams, that's just really, really useful for me. Especially since I want to try new things, you know? So I'm excited to have this added to my crafty library. What I'll do with, I think this and I think one other book are probably still available. I'll see if I can find them online and link them down below. So if you do want to get a copy of this, maybe you could like pick one up that way. So that's the only book that I got from Hobby Lobby. And then the next 3 books I thrifted. And I think, oh, it's heavy. I love old books, right? So I got this one, and these are both Reader's Digest. This is the Complete Guide to Needlework, and it's like that. This one I think was 1979. Yeah, copyright 1979. And then I also got the Reader's Digest Complete Guide to Sewing. And when is this one copyrighted? This one is copyright 1976. So yeah. I love these old books that have, you know, all of this information about how to create these different looks and things like that. I don't do as much sewing, like garment sewing, as I used to, but I would love to really get back into it. And then the Complete Guide to Needlework, just so awesome. One of the things I found in here, let me see if I can find it real fast. Yeah. This, oh, what's that? Stuff's falling out the book. This is the Trinity stitch. So that's one of the patterns that is in the Ryan sweater. So that's pretty cool. And so I think between all of the stitch dictionaries that I have, I'll be able to find all the different stitches I need for that sweater. And then I found this one. This is Free Range Knitter by Stephanie Pro McPhee. I bought her other book, Yarn Harlot, I think it was what it was called. But I got that at a library sale. So now I have 2 of them. I need to get reading. And the last book that I want to show you is this one. This is a book that I got at the mall. It's called Do One Thing Every Day That Makes You Happy, a journal. And that's what it looks like. And I love buying books that are used to cultivate happiness, like books that like study happiness, stuff like that, because I want to do as many things as I can possibly do to cultivate a sense of happiness and peace and contentment and positivity in my life. And then once I have those things, or I have those tools to work with, then I am more equipped to share them with other people, you know? So this book, it has like different little quotes and things, and then they ask you a little prompt at the bottom where you like write your response. So like, true happiness arises in the first place from the enjoyment of oneself, and in the next from the friendship and conversation of a few select companions. And that's by Joseph Addison. Then on the next page it has enjoyment of myself today, and it gives you like space to write what is something that you enjoyed by yourself today. And then for the next day it says enjoyment of friendship and conversation today, so you can reflect and write about the friendship or conversation that you enjoyed for that day. So I really like things like this, more so for the quotes than for the like writing prompts. But I do want to do some more of these writing prompts, because I feel like it's good to write things down and to process them that way. Oh, this is a nice one. With true friends, even water drunk together is sweet. And that's a Chinese proverb. That's nice. And the prompt for that day is today's sweet, simple meal with friends. And then you just write about that. So I really like this book. A couple years ago, Lamar bought one of the books that's in this series. I want to say he bought Do One Thing Every Day That Scares You. It's either the one that scares you or the one that inspires you. One of those. Can't remember, but it's like on our bookshelf somewhere. So that is all the books that I picked up over the last couple weeks that I wanted to share with you guys. I have like a serious love for these old knitting books. Like I pulled out a couple of my other ones, or like needlecraft books. I pulled out a couple of my other ones to show you guys. And here they are. They're just so delightfully tattered. Like, look at that. Hello, little book. Little well-loved book. This is the Reinhold Book of Needlecraft by this name. I'm fairly certain that's not pronounced Jetta, which is totally what I would say. But yeah, when is this book from? 1973. Yeah. Uh-oh. Whenever I'm in a thrift store and I see a needlecraft book or a knitting book or something like that, I cannot help but take them home with me. And this is another one that I have. This is Better Homes and Gardens, Complete Book of Knitting, Crochet, and Embroidery. And this one, I think this one is a lot newer. Yeah, this is from the late 70s. So first American edition, 1977. Third American edition was 1979. So, yeah. This one is actually in color. So that should tell you something. But yeah, I love these books. I love seeing them on my shelves. I love going through them like with their stitch patterns and things like that, because I find that a lot of the stitch dictionaries that I get now or that I see in the stores now, they kind of regurgitate the same like patterns. Like you see a lot of the same like repeats. But then when you look in these older books, you see kind of different ones. So I like having the old books around. I also love that they're older than me, which I don't know, it's just something that I like. So the last little bit is just some chit chat about my life and what I've been up to. So that is everything for the yarny portion of the podcast. And as you can see, I've talked longer than my tea stayed warm. It's like room temperature. No, it's not room temperature. It's like tepid. Good thing it tastes good. So in the last couple weeks, I went to the comedy show with my friends. It was really funny. I enjoyed the show. And then after the show, one of our group was saying, hey, you know, there's an after party at this lounge that's in the arena that we went to. This was all held in the Amway Center. So they have like this Sky Lounge, I think it's called. So they were like, oh yeah, let's go up there. There's no cover, so we can go in there, you know, spend some more time, blah, blah, blah. Because, you know, when you're an adult, you don't really get time to just hang out with your friends and stuff. So it's a Saturday night. They're like, yeah, let's hang out, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, I'm there like the uber introvert. Like, okay, I know that I'm going to be uncomfortable in this situation. So I was expecting that. So what I thought was like, okay, well, everybody else is going to be like, I don't know, doing whatever they're doing. I'm going to find a corner and sit down and knit on these socks. Like that was my plan. Only when we got up there, there was nowhere to sit. There were so many people. Oh my gosh. Like there were so many people in this one area that I thought people were standing in line waiting for something. They were that many people and they were that close together. Nope. They were just all standing around like listening to the DJ, drinking and stuff like that. And there was nowhere to sit. So I got super overwhelmed, super fast, and had a panic attack. And it's like, in looking back on it now, I can laugh because it wasn't a super bad panic attack, but I don't think that I've ever had a panic attack like in a public, like because I was in a crowded area. So that was definitely like Kalisha's panic attacks turn over a new leaf. So that was a little bit of a bummer knowing that those kind of situations can cause me to have one. But luckily, you know, like Lamar was like right there, like, okay, do you need to leave? Like, what do we need to do? Calm down. He's like talking to me throughout the whole panic attack, which also definitely helped it not get as bad as it could have gone. Because in the past I've had panic attacks that were bad enough to where I kind of blacked out. That didn't happen this time, so thumbs up for that. So we ended up leaving before the rest of our friends did. And I felt guilty about that, but at the same time, it was just like, well, I don't want to stay there because it's not like a place that I am at all comfortable being. And yeah, so learned something new about myself. So then Thursday, not this past Thursday, but Thursday before that, my dad came into town, so I was able to see him, and we hung out for a bit. He was in town for this, he and his wife were in town for this golf tournament that he does. I think it's a yearly golf tournament. And so I went down to see them. They were staying at the resort that the golf tournament was held at. And when I went to visit, he was like, hey, you know, I'm going to go do this putting contest. Do you want to come? So I went out there with them and watched him do this putting contest, and I was stressed out like the whole time. Like, golf is not relaxing. Like, you look at it, or you see it on TV and just like, oh, okay, well, they're just like hitting the ball and trying to get it in the hole. But man, every time, like whenever he putted, because I think there were 9 holes like in this big green, and there were different like elevations and stuff that they had to like putt past and stuff. But he had 9 holes that he had to putt, and the highest or the lowest score that anybody got was 18. So he had to either tie 18 or like do better than 18. So he was like, of course he wanted to win. So I ended up keeping the score, and when he putted and missed like the first one, he's like, okay, all right. He's like getting in his serious tone or whatever. And then like on the last hole, he asked me how many holes he had put 3. Yeah, how many holes he had put 3 on. And he had put 3 on 3 different holes, which meant that he would have to basically get a hole in one, I think, on the last hole. It was either he had to do a hole in one to tie for like second place, or putt 2 to tie for second place. And he putted too hard and missed it. He was so frustrated. But I thought it was really cool that, he could get any of these in 3 or less, because I would have been out there with like 17. Like, guys, okay, this isn't my game. So of course, I was out there like taking pictures and recording stuff and things like that, because I am a documentarian. So I made a little video for him, which I need to finish up and send over to him, but I'll put that at the end of the podcast. So if you want to see like a little montage of my dad golfing, that'll be at the end. But another thing that I kind of was thinking about, I forget which day last week was World Mental Health Day. It was the 10th. October 10th was World Mental Health Day. And I had taken a picture of these golf balls on their driving range out there. And the way that they set the golf balls up, they set them up in a pyramid. And I'll put a picture so that you can see it. But essentially, when I was looking at the pyramid, I was like, oh man, I want to snatch one of those golf balls out so that the whole thing falls down. Because I'm the kind of person that like, I would do that. If I see like, I'm the person who pulls out the wrong block in Jenga, like when the game has gone on too long, I'm just going to knock it down. But my dad he was like, yeah, go ahead and pull one out. I was like, no, Daddy, they're going to kick me out. They know that I'm not a golfer and I shouldn't be here. So he goes over and he pulls out a golf ball from the bottom of the pyramid. And in my mind, I was like, the whole thing is clearly going to fall down because you pulled out the bottom. The thing didn't move. So he put it back, and then he pulled out another one. Still didn't move. Put it back. He pulled out 3, and nothing happened. So when I was looking at that, like just as an illustration for like life, I thought about it like, I am the stack of golf balls, right? Like each one of us is a stack of golf balls. And sometimes we feel like whenever, like if ever a bad thing happens, or we have a bad day, or we hit a downswing emotionally, or we have a panic attack, or any of these things, like any of these negative things, whenever something like that happens, you're just like, oh my goodness, this is clearly going to knock me down. But we have to remember that it is still possible to stand in the midst of having these bad things happen. And, you know, no one bad day, bad week, bad month, bad year is enough to take you out if you are intent on standing. Even if it's like multiple things, you know, things happen back to back, they are not strong enough to take you out without your permission. They are not strong enough to make you fall if your intent is to keep standing throughout this life. So I posted that on Instagram, you know, just the thoughts that I was having when I was looking at that, like that whole imagery. And it's definitely a way that, you know, a change in my mindset that I would love to make. It's definitely something that, you know, you have to continue reminding yourself that you are stronger than the events that happen to you, that you make the decision to continue standing despite whatever those negative situations that you come up against are. Like, be a pyramid of golf balls, guys. I want to be a pyramid of golf balls. That sounds so crazy to say, but you guys understand where I'm coming from, right? So that's everything for today. Like I said, I'll put like a couple little videos at the end, some pictures maybe, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you take some time to leave a comment of something positive that happened to you in this past couple weeks. That is what our message today is about. It says, joy shared is double joy. So that's kind of the idea that I always have whenever I encourage you guys to leave comments of positive things that have happened to you. Because when you leave a positive, like something positive that happened to you, you're able to relive, you know, that thought, like remembering that. And then someone else is able to, you know, like think about that, you know, these positive things are happening to people in our community, and they're able to feel that joy as well. So joy shared is double joy. Share your joy down below. And thank you so much for being a part of my universe. Have a wonderful day. Peace.
Go, baby. Go, go, go. Go, baby. Go, baby.
Stop, 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 stop.